333 the text number, start your message Wiltshire, or call us 03459 513366. Ever been to a gig or a loud party and then later on you've got that ringing in your ears? The noise probably went away after a few hours, but for some people that ringing stays around forever. Beethoven suffered from tinnitus. Bono's got it. Liam Gallagher, Kate Bush suffers from it. Chris Martin of Coldplay, he suffers from it. And they're not alone. 6 million people in the UK have this condition. This morning, though, the charity Action on Hearing Loss claims access to the right treatment is a postcode lottery. Louise Hart is an audiologist with the charity and joins me now. Just explain, if you can, Louise, how distressing tinnitus can be.
So, tinnitus can be very, very distressing for people. We get people ringing up our information line or even on email and on our forums, severely disturbed, severely distressed. They're not able to sleep. They aren't able to function. Some people have actually given up work because this sound is actually driving them crazy effectively. It just doesn't stop ringing and they can't seem to get away from it. So we know that, for 600,000 people across the UK, it is severely disabling.
Are there different forms of tinnitus?
There are different forms of tinnitus. People, we often say a ringing in the ear, but people can have a pulsatile tinnitus, which will be due more to a medical problem. There's something called a musical hallucination, which is the same piece of music playing over and over and over again. Quite a lot of people say ringing or a buzzing sound. People can have more than one sound. So people will say it might be in one ear or both ears or in the middle of their head.
How do you cure it?
There isn't a drug cure at the moment because there's no more than one trigger factor and more than one cause for tinnitus. So at the moment, what we know works the best is providing people with information, providing specialist services, providing devices that they can listen to, and also providing cognitive behavioural therapy to help change their negative thought process related to the tinnitus.
So what are the issues that you have with the current treatment?
At the moment, only 2/5 of hospitals provide the gold standard. So that is those 4 things that I mentioned. So the provision of cognitive behavioural therapy, specialist services, information, and tinnitus retraining. And as I said, those devices. So what you will hear people say is that they have a little music player that plays near their bed, which they listen to at night when they're trying to sleep, and that's really important, having that just underneath the level of their tinnitus so their brain learns to listen to another sound other than their tinnitus. Now at the moment that's only provided by, as I said, 2/5. So 70% of hospitals will provide some information, and some areas provide no information or services at all. And tinnitus doesn't choose a postcode. So, if a sufferer has to go somewhere else and they are severely disabled, that's an extra stress layer, and that's going to impact on their tinnitus as well.
Why are services so sketchy?
Well, we're not quite sure. I think in some cases it is that the local commissioners don't feel it's important and don't provide funding. In other areas it's because the departments have had to cut funding because there isn't money available. And in some cases there isn't enough individuals that can actually provide that therapy.
So what it sounds like, it's not taken seriously enough by some departments.
I would probably say not necessarily the departments, but by some trusts, yes, or commissioners.
Do we know how much of it is psychological and how much of it is, as you mentioned earlier, you termed it as medical?
I think with tinnitus, it's a combination of both. So the initial tinnitus itself is physiological, so it has actually occurred and the brain's picked it up, and I like to say the brain's turned up the volume. So that's why the cognitive behavioural therapy works really well, because it teaches the brain to kind of turn down the volume. When we listen to sound during the day, we don't pick up every sound that we hear because our brain goes, okay, that's a normal sound. If we picked up every sound, we'd go crazy. So what cognitive behavioural therapy and all the other components we talked about earlier do is teach the brain that actually, it's kind of one of those sounds that we have, that are in our background, that it's a normal sound that we don't need to listen to.
If people aren't getting this service from their local NHS, can they can they help themselves in any way?
They can. There are books around like Living with Tinnitus and Hyperacusis by some doctors and things like that. They can go onto our information line on actiononhearingloss.org.uk. We have forums and we have fact sheets. They can also ring our information line. If they look on our website, the phone number's there. And that people, for a lot of people, having that understanding and that information is enough. Now, some departments will provide group therapy, so where they ask people to come to a group information session, and they'll find that useful. There's also the British Tinnitus Association that they can website that they can look at and ring them as well.
Louise Hart, thank you very much for your time from Action on Hearing Loss. That web address again is Action on Hearing Loss, all one word, actiononhearingloss.org.uk.